Well, here we are, 2023. From my heart to yours, I want to wish you a very, very happy new year. And thanks so much for joining me here today. Now, clearly, just want to point out the obvious. There's no Sunday services happening today. So if you rocked up at the auditorium this morning, like, where is everyone? And you finally tuned in, thanks for joining us. Essentially, you can see behind me, still packing down like our Christmas services, got some Christmas trees still here. Probably resembles all of our houses right now, if I'm to be honest. A little bit of leftovers from Christmas. Maybe you've got some of your Christmas trees still left there. But really what we wanted to do is, I know so many of you volunteered and served and gave and worked so hard over the Christmas season, both at Impact Church and at Suncoast Church. And so we wanted to give everyone the day off and say thank you so much. Be with your families, enjoy New Year's Day at home. And I wanted today to take a few moments just to kind of point our direction upwards as we begin the brand new year. And I guess just to say it is my absolute honor and privilege again this year, 2023, to be serving you again as your lead pastor. It's one of the greatest privileges and honors of my life. And one of the things I get to do in my role, and I talk about this quite a bit, I get to kind of officiate people's weddings. And when I talk to couples on their wedding day, remind them that, hey, your future's, we don't know what it holds, it's uncertain. We can't always predict everything, and we can't predict our futures. You guys, well, we all know that. And so what I try to encourage young couples with is, here's what we do know, is that we're going to be doing it together. And in, sickness, health, good times, and in bad, for richer, for poorer, it's you and me. And that's often how I feel about us as a church community. We don't know what 2023 holds. We can't control the future, but we do have a common hope that we all get to hold on to, and we're going to do it together. We're with each other. And I wonder sometimes if that's how Jesus kind of views his relationship with us. That as much as we don't hold the future, he does. And so his promise is, I'm going to be with you through all of it. And so my encouragement to you at the start of this year, as we contemplate our future and our plans and our goals and all the things we want to achieve and be a part of and experience this year, is where do we bring Jesus into all of this? And how is he cheering us along? And how does our faith impact how we approach our year this year? Chloe and I now have had the privilege of pastoring this church for over 8 years now. And I remember when we were first invited to take on this role, and we were contemplating, I guess what's our goal, what's our mission, our vision. We didn't really have a big grand plan, but we certainly know what made our heart beat. And so we kind of launched this originally as our church vision, but it's progressed now more to something, well, really we just call it our heartbeat, or the Suncoast and Impact heartbeat, which is Jesus in everything. And as you well know, life is filled with so much. Your life is full, church life is full, community is full. We have commitments and engagements and events and responsibilities. But in the middle of all of that, we want to make sure as a church, we are always committed to seeing Jesus in everything. There could be so much that causes us to get distracted, maybe even disillusioned, perhaps even discouraged at times. And I wonder if often the root of that is when somehow Jesus stops being the central focus. And so right here on the first day of the new year, whenever you're watching this, I want to remind you to keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. And what does it mean to have Jesus in everything? Because I know that this is simple stuff, right? I mean, this is the stuff we're all aware of. The reason you're probably tuning in today and part of our church community is because Jesus is right in the center of your world. So we know this. So why do I talk about it? Because we're human and we get distracted. And there's a lot that happens in our lives. We have huge commitments. Probably today or sometime over the next few weeks, you're going to be sitting down planning your year ahead and looking at the mammoth amount of responsibilities, or maybe a trepidation, or perhaps excitement for the year ahead. And all of it, it's just easy for us to get sidetracked or distracted with keeping Jesus right in the middle of it all. And so there's a lot that is fighting for our attention, isn't there? There's probably a lot fighting for your attention. I'm sure you watched a ton of other things before you eventually clicked even on this link to watch this today. So there's a lot that's always trying to get our attention. And personally, one of the things I'm encouraged by and I'm led back to when I feel like I'm getting a little distracted from what is most important for life and my faith, I come back to this passage in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. It gives us something to do. It says, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. So let's throw off the things that hinder and entangle. And sometimes I think about my own life, my own faith. When do things come along that hinders my faith or entangles me in something and I forget to keep Jesus in everything? What's that been for you? Maybe in all your planning for this new year, perhaps you've been entangled in something, or something has hindered the growth of your faith, or has hindered the joy in your faith. And it could even, to be honest, it could even be something that's good. It could be something related to church. And we all know the age-old principle that you can get so caught up in church things that we can forget the thing. And I want to encourage you, maybe you've been really caught in something. Maybe you got entangled in something, and the thing wasn't bad. It was good. You just got entangled in it. And somehow you forgot to keep Jesus in everything. Maybe for some of you, it's a little different. For some, you could be finding yourself deconstructing your faith. Maybe it's been a process you've been on for some time, or in the new year, as you're considering your future, you find yourself asking questions about your faith. And that can come from a really good place, and there's a whole lot of good reasons why we go through those seasons of life where we're deconstructing things. But it'd be a tragedy for us in a deconstructing of faith to miss what it's all about, bringing it back to Jesus in everything. Perhaps for you, the thing that's hindered or ensnared or discouraged you in your journey is you've been disappointed, maybe disillusioned by things that have taken place in recent history. And so again, things can cause our attention to be pulled sideways, and we'd fix our eyes on something other than Jesus. Perhaps for you, there's been an unanswered prayer in this past season of your life. And I certainly know in my life, whenever I've experienced a disappointment from an unanswered prayer, maybe just something not going the way I hoped and believed and prayed that it would happen, it can sometimes cast a shadow over our faith, can't it? So whatever it is for you, whatever it is that you're feeling, you're experiencing right now, Hebrews would tell us this: throw it off. Make a decision to not let that be the thing that is in the center of your life. Bring Jesus back in the center. Throw off everything that hinders and the sin that's so easily entangled. And then it goes on in the next verse to say this: and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. So what does that look like for you? What does it look like for you in your planning? What does it look like for you today? What does it look like for you in 2023 to keep your eyes fixed on Jesus? Think of it this way. We're all involved and connected here right now because somewhere along the way, we encountered the reality of Jesus and he impacted our life. Like, what's your story? What is it that happened to you when you met Jesus? What did he rescue you from? How did he change you? How did the lights come on for you? This all began with Jesus. And the great promise we have as his followers is that Jesus says he will come again and he will make all things right. And we'll be included in this incredible eternal promise. And so between those two moments, we are encouraged to keep our eyes fixed on the promise giver, to keep our eyes fixed on the pioneer and the perfecter of faith. So what's your eyes fixed on? And he goes on in that passage there, he talks about how when we do that, it encourages us to run with perseverance. And it talks about life in that kind of metaphor. It's like a persevering run. And the point I want to leave with you today, and the point I take from this is ultimately what we fix our eyes on. The author here is saying, fix your eyes on Jesus, and it enables you to run with perseverance. What we fix our eyes on, ultimately it sets the pace of our lives. What we consistently and repeatedly fix our eyes on sets the pace and the tone of our very lives. And Jesus cares about the pace of your life. Make no mistake about it. He cares about not just what you're doing with your life, but how you're going about living, following the Jesus way. So here's what I want you to consider at the start of a brand new year, start of 2023, when we take all of this into consideration, about what it means to, if we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus and somehow that sets the pace and the tone for our life. I want you to consider, as you're assessing your lives, as you're planning your future, I want you to consider how much your faith is setting the tone and the pace for your life. How much is it included in that? So as you're planning your scheduling and your calendar, your budgets, your commitments, your disciplines, your morality, your behaviors, to consider all those this year, how much is your faith impacting that? How much is that involved in your conversation? So as you sit with maybe your pen and a paper, or you sit with a spouse or your family and you plan this year, how much is faith coming into this discussion? So maybe today you're sitting down to do that over the next few weeks over the holidays or whenever you're watching this. And as you're planning your future, consider, what is setting the pace for all of this? What is setting my priorities? And am I keeping my eyes fixed on Jesus in all of this? Because here's what I know about the pace that we learn from Jesus. And as we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, here's what I know. The pace that Jesus sets for our life is very different to what panic sets for our life, or fear sets for our life, or worry sets for our life. And come on, let's be real. They are experiences we all have as people, and particularly as we consider the future and the ways it can be unsure and unsecured. It'd be so easy for our attention to be grabbed by the things that worry us and concern us. And yeah, that's fine. It's human to be worried and concerned, but not to have our eyes fixed on those things. Because again, whatever we fix our eyes on, whatever has our regular, constant, and the lion's share of our attention will ultimately impact the pace of our life. Maybe it's been for you comparison. Maybe it's been compromise. Maybe it's been conspiracy. There is a ton that can grab our attention and cause our eyes to be fixated on them. And I love to affect the tone and the pace of our lives. But my encouragement to you this year is, will you do what is required to keep your eyes fixed on the pioneer and the perfecter of our faith? And the beautiful thing here is that the Jesus way invites us to run our life in such a way to experience what I call, or at least I like to call, joyful endurance. Joyful endurance. Here's what the next verse says, where we learn from the Jesus way about how to do this. It says, for the joy set before him, for the joy set before Jesus, he endured the cross. There was a cross to endure, no doubt about it, but it wasn't the cross that led him. It was for the joy that was set before him. He endured the cross. His leading motive was joy. So in our lives this year, and you know this, there's crosses to endure, and they can look like a myriad of things in our life. We all have to go through them, but the Jesus way causes us to approach them and endure them and confront them and overcome them with, well, Jesus showed us here, with joy, and that he was led by joy. Imagine if that's how you and I were led this year. And as we approach whatever cross we have to endure, that we can experience joyful endurance. And so what I want to do, I want to speak joy over your 2023, over your future, over your year, over your life. I want to believe that you would experience the joy that we see in the life of Jesus, that as we fix our eyes together on the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, that we would experience joyful endurance, that you'd experience that in your relationships, you'd experience that in your family, you would experience that in your faith, that you would experience the joy that is promised through Christ like never before. Perhaps there's been things of the last year or the last season that has robbed you of your joy. Things that maybe have discouraged or disillusioned, that have entangled or distracted or hindered. I want to believe that this year, more than ever, you'd keep your eyes fixed on the pioneer and the perfecter of your faith. You'd throw off those things that have hindered you, and you'd keep your eyes and your faith firmly focused on the one who's given it all for you, the one who loves you, the one who is for you. I'm proud of you, I believe in you, praying for you, and excited for this incredible year together with you. God bless you.